Hello and welcome to another in the Sage CRM learning series. I'm David Beard. I'm the CRM principal for Sage CRM. I look after the growth of the product and the education to people like you about what it is and what it can do. This is another in our series that it continues across this year, and it's part two of the second series where we're looking at the functional tools themselves rather than the commercial reasons for considering CRM in your business. This is a jam-packed session, so I'm going to jump straight in because we're going to cover quite a lot of things. And we're looking today at the functional tools for marketing, sales, and service. And I'll be covering all sorts of bits and pieces as I go through that. It's all about showing you the breadth and the usage of features in CRM. And it doesn't matter whether you're new or whether you're just looking to brush up your skills and remember why and how you could use the product in your business. These sessions will help you understand how we can bring value to your organization. So let's make a start. The functional tools that go to support marketing, sales, and service features and functions in a business. I'm doing this on the basis of a demonstration system as we did previously. I'm logged on as a particular user in the demonstration data called Susan May. Susan is a sales manager, which will become more obvious as I go through. Now, company and person records, as I'm showing you here, you can see a list of companies, a list of people here, typically come to be in existence in the system because someone's entered them manually. Maybe they've been imported in a marketing exercise or indeed an implementation exercise. And there are all sorts of other ways that this would work, but let's start thinking about that and let's look at the process of adding a record in a manual fashion. So this is really very much back to the basics about how you would use CRM almost from getting it ready and starting afresh. So I've clicked the new icon button in the top right corner there, and I've opened the new menu, and I can click the company option there. And you can see on this screen now, I'm being invited in the top left corner to enter a company's name. This screen, by the way, can be customized by the administrator, your partner, whoever, to oblige to put in the details of the company to be entered so the database can be checked for duplicates. It's a good way of keeping the data clean. You don't want bad data in there because people then blame the system, and that's not the right way to do it. So I'm going to go in a fairly simple way. I'm going to start entering the name Gate. And if I click Enter Company Details at this point, you'll see immediately the system is alerting me to a potential series of duplicates. It's searched through in that process of hitting the Insert button through the database and is alerting me to duplicates based on partial name of Gate. Now, I can use this list to double check whether the company already exists. If I decided my company was already the same as, say, the last one on the list there, Gatecom, then I just click on the name of the company in the grid and it would take me straight to the company summary. Or I could just carry on, ignore that list and go to the next screen and enter the company. But I'm going to click back to company entry and remove some of the ambiguity. And I'll add some more details. And what I'm going to do is instead actually enter the full name. I'm going for Gateway Holdings, right? And I'm now going to enter that detail in. This time, I'm taken straight into the entry screen because there are no duplicates. There is no other Gateway Holdings. And I can start to enter values in any or all of those fields. We can see that the company name has been carried over from the previous screen, drop it in there. I've got various drop-down boxes I could fill in, type, SLA, segment, and various text boxes, websites, addresses, things like that. You'll notice on some of the text fields, a little tiny blue star, address 1, for example, has one there. That means it's mandatory. And that means I have to put that value in there, right? And you can see company name and address are the two mandatory fields on this particular screen. If I was to do the same in a person context, so I'm adding a person to a company or adding a new person generally, you'll see that same mandatory thing happening there. And not unsurprisingly, perhaps, last and first name are mandatory fields. And I'm going to save that. Now, if I go back to the entry of new company, you'll see what I've actually done there as I was entering a primary contact for this company called Gateway Holdings. And I've forgotten to enter the last and first name. And the system tells me, you need to put this in, and it puts a little red arrow in there. So I'll fill that all in, and then I'll try and go ahead and enter that. And you'll see again, I've been flagged by the little red arrow to say, you do need to enter the address as well. And you can make this and tailor this to be whatever makes sense to you as a business. Out of the box, we ship at default looking for things like primary contact and primary address, because that to us makes sense. But you might think that you want at least half a dozen other primary fields as well, or required fields. And that's okay. You can set that up, or your partner can set that up for you as well. So when I went through all that, make sure I've got all the data I need, double check the email, phone, blah, 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 and then add it all in, right? And before I say that, I want to return to the very top of the page. Notice too that I've got this thing called territory. Now, if you're not sure what I mean by a term like territory, then there are other ways and other lessons or a series within the series I share where I'll talk further about it. But the idea is that territory is typically an operating territory. So me, the logged on user, Susan may exist working in southeastern United States or Canada or something like that. But people, and that's how people typically set it up, by the way. Some people also set it up by functional areas. It could be sales for a particular product or service in a particular line. But that gives you the capacity to manage the way data is both secured and viewed by different people in your organization. Now, remember, I'm Susan May. I'm the sales manager. I'm in a territory called US and Canada, and that's kind of a parent territory. So I'm going to just fill that all in, make sure it's good and be happy with that. And then I can go ahead and I can save the record. So now I've entered into this, or I've entered, I should say, this new record called Gateway Holdings. And you see, I've got my minimum information in there, a few names, a few other things like email addresses. And this is the company summary screen. You can tell that by looking at the top left corner and the little green underline showing you we're in company mode, and this is the summary area. Now, I'm going to edit this, click the change button, and I want to edit some of the details in here. And I want to edit the company information. So I've got the capacity not only to enter it initially, but I've got the capacity to go back and have a look at it again. Perhaps over time, if you're just entering a minimum amount of information, you may not have the segment definition you need, but at some point in the future, perhaps after you've talked to the contact, you go back in and fill that detail in. And that's the sort of thing you can do, and then you can save it away. But before saving, I also want to have a look at the People tab, just to make sure I've got everything I need in there. And I can check that there's that Kelly Battaglia contact that I've put in previously for Gateway Holdings. Now I can store any number of extra people against that, and I can add another one if I want. I can just click New Person and go ahead and start entering the details in there. It's important, of course, a bit like the company, useful to check for duplicates on the way through. And if I click Enter Person here, you'll see in this case, it looks like I'm okay with this one, and I can save it and I'm good to go. That's a fairly unique name there. But had I put in something like John Smith, you can bet your bottom dollar that you would have seen another few John Smiths fly up and go, are you sure it isn't this John Smith? But you're managing the creation of both a minimum set and making sure you're not overwriting or duplicating anything that may already be in the system. So let's go back to my company. Right now I'm in the person area, Barbero Kumar at Gateway Holdings, but I'm going to click on the hyperlink for the company, which is in the bottom left corner, and that will take me straight back to the company view of this company. And now I've got two people in there, Barbero and also Kelly. And if I wanted to edit all of these, then I can just click on the hyperlink, I should say, and carry on the next. But you get the idea. I could edit the change, go ahead, add more information, maybe even set this as a default person, because even though I entered Kumar earlier, that's not the default person. This actually is the default person, and so on and so forth. You can also do lots of data typing around the record. So it's fine to have gender and salutation and title code, but you might want some typing that also reflects their role in the company. I've just used a standard demonstration piece of data out of the box. You can have as much of this as you like. It really depends on where your business works and how you want to report. I often say to people, and you've probably heard me say it before in other events, how you determine what data you want in the system is very much driven on how you want to report on it. So that requires some thinking, and it does require some also thinking differently, not just saying, well, we've always done it this way, we'll do it the same way. Now's a chance to think again. What do we need to report on? The number of people we have in our database that operate in a certain position that we call typing, or something like that. Do you get the idea? Okay, So at both company and the person levels, you can enter addresses, notes, you can add all sorts of other things. So notes, for example, could just be free-form text. It could be birthdays. It could be, if that's okay with CCPA and GDPR and everything else, it could be just some commentary about the person you collected and you want to just keep on record of everybody. It could be a record of all the communications and tasks. And we've talked about that in the last session of this series, this idea that communications form the basis of who said what to whom and when, not just from you to this person, but everyone else in your company in whatever role they hold. You can also update, of course, with people and companies, phone and email addresses, and you can update particular typing, data typing again, what's the corresponding information we need. So I want to leave the record for a second. I will be back later on, but I want to come out of the context of company and navigating to somewhere different. And in particular, I want to look at my CRM area, which we talked about last time, and look at the my CRM area dashboards. Now, I can create a new person unlinked to any company as well. So I've given you one example there with a company and a person in it, but I could equally be, for want of a better word, in a B2C environment where I'm just looking for a person, right? So I could go back into new, like I did earlier, and then I can start entering data for a person. It's a new person. And I put all the data in just like I did last time. It searches for duplicates just like I did last time. I'm warned about other people that have similar names, but I can go ahead. I'm happy with this. I think it's a new person. I'll enter it anyway. And I'll enter my person as an individual, but I won't put any company data in there. So they can have this person just living as a person on their own. And I put this in there because it is often asked about the product. Do I have to be operating in B2B? Do I need a company? No, you don't. No, you don't. People can just be just people, unlinked to a company. And you can do all the same sorts of things you do, but just without the company overlay. Right, let's move on. I've logged in as a different user, as the admin this time, and I'm seeing the default welcome dashboard for this administrator. You can see users can be assigned dashboards that have either been created for them or ones that they have created themselves. So dashboards are super ways of getting the right information in a head-up display sort of fashion so that people can understand what's important to them either on a daily basis, hourly basis, weekly basis, whatever. So let me look at a different way of using this head-up display, and let me thinking again about, say, this Susan May thing, coming back in to this idea of Susan as the sales user, the sales manager. I want to talk to you about different ways of using some of the other functional tools. So I've looked at company and creating it. I've looked at person and creating it. I want to talk about now some of the basic functional tools. And the easiest place to start, I think, is sending emails. Now, Simon Yaltoy, this is someone I've corresponded with before, works at a company called Gatecom. And there's Gatecom listed on the top right there under company, the last one. And I'll look down and I can see he's actually a primary contact. If you look at the bottom left corner, this is the primary contact for this company. And if I go to the people tab, I can see also not only is he in the company, but I know two other people there as well. Now, to compose an email and use CRM as my email interface, you don't have to go out of CRM to do this. I can simply click on his email address and I'm presented with the Sage CRM email client, or the editor screen, if you like, as it's strictly called. Now, the way this system's been set up, I have it, could pop out, I could have it inline. This is the way I set it up in my particular usage, right? And you can see here, I've got the option to automatically, automatically pull in a template, and I can use a standard template from a whole range of different templates. And templates work as you'd expect them to. You know, things like dear first name, dear last name, about your correspondence with us on date X, you know, all these sorts of normal things. Any of the data that's in CRM you can use to surface and put into a template. So I picked a fairly standard one, which is hello and warm regards, etc. Right? You've got down the bottom there a fully HTML editor, fully featured HTML editor. So it lets you have all the controls you'd expect. And the nice thing is you can use it to manage your correspondence, staying inside CRM, using all the tools you'd expect, and having CRM automatically then send it out the door on your behalf. You can add documents to it from the standard document library. You can type away. You can also, as part of it, if you look down the very bottom there, set how you're going to record this activity. So the email will go out the door just like every other regular email does, but because you're firing it out from CRM, you will also keeping a record in the communications history against Simon. Global documents, by the way, are useful because global documents, how often have you called around the office and said, who's got the latest price list, or that image of the product, is that the right one? Didn't we update that like a month ago? If you use CRM, you can store all this data in the central document repository. So no more hunting around on file shares, no more thinking, is that really the latest version? Someone can manage this for you. Someone can make it very easy to use it within CRM for you. So you can see I've attached a particular thing called a catalog in this case, and then I can also get it out the door. I can also get it out the door from using templates, aliases. And at the top there, I've highlighted the ability to both send it from me, if it needs to come from me, or maybe it needs to come from a more generic address called sales team. And that gives you the capability in your business to say, doesn't necessarily have to be dealt with by me. It could be a team that picks up the return email or is seen as the team sending the email out in the first place. So I'm going to send this now and it will go out the door, click send, and off it goes. And so if I look at the communication tab, you'll see and have a look at, set my filtering to see everything. You'll see that there'll be an email out correspondence there. There we go. Saying email out from me to Simon. And if there was any subject matter in there, it will be captured too. I didn't do that properly, so it wasn't there, but trust me, that's how it works. And you can drop back into the detail, as can anybody else in your organization, and see what was said, what was attached, all that sort of thing. Now, the way email client works is sometimes in part under your control as a user. It's also in part under control of the administrator. And we split that deliberately to give this sort of design approach to the way CRM looks after correspondence. You can both enforce, sounds like a harsh word, but I think you know what I mean, enforce some standards around the way templates are set up, the way they're used, and equally give the users flexibility in the way they send it out the door as well. And all that sort of information is stored in users' preferences and things like that, which I won't go into a lot today. Okay, let's go back into my CRM area. We remember from last time, this idea of me, my head-up display of the things I'm working on. And I've gone to the opportunities area. This is all the sales activity I'm looking after. Now, imagine I need to send a brochure to one of the companies listed here. Now, I've opened up the record and I'm going to go into the company context. And I've gone to a company, if you look at the top, called Harlob Controls. And the documents that are associated with this company are in the Documents tab to the right-hand side, second from the right. You can see on the screen that I've got options to do lots of things like merging. So this is where I might design a more rich letter. Here is your quote. Thanks very much for our conversation earlier today. Here are the things you asked about. So rather than the email I showed you earlier, this is the more formal, wrong word, but anyway, different way of doing letters and those sorts of things. So I can choose to merge to Word or merge to PDF. Or equally, I can also maybe have done something outside in Word. Maybe I've got another quoting system or a different shipping system or something else that generates documents. I can have that generate the document, pick it up and drop it in here as well. Just drag and drop it in. But what I'm going to do instead here is start the merge process from the new menu. And I'm going to use the advantage similar to email, where I start looking at all the preset templates for me as a user of the system. And they could be cover letters, they could be customer letters, they could be quote letters, anything at all like that. So I'm going to go for the merge to PDF option. Here are a list of the files. I'll select the, what shall I select? Customer letter template. So I choose that one there. And it opens up similar to the sort of the email approach you saw earlier, but this is a template, Word template, PDF template, where it shows me the template first of all. I can have a look at it, I can adjust it if I need to, and then notice how all those merge fields I referred to earlier appear. You can see they're populated quite nicely for me, and I can maybe add a few things or change a few things if I need to. And then I can, top of the page, I can then start thinking about, well, I'm going to merge and continue or preview the merge. Now, I'm going to preview. I just want to make sure that what I'm doing is what I think I'm doing. So I'm going to preview, And the system says, just a second, let me crack that one for you. And here's your merge letter. And you see how it's taken the data from the record, Tony Smith, Harlow controls. Oh, I've left out a space between first and last name, so I'll need to go and fix that template later. All my usual stuff about me, so Panoply up the top there, the graphics, so on, so on. Standard template letter, dear Tony, lots of buzzwords about our lovely product we have here. I can go ahead and go, yep, that's good. I'm going to merge and continue, and then the full merge takes place. And it says, right, I'm done. Would you like me to create a communication? In other words, put a record in the communication area? Yes, I would. And I'll click continue. And it prompts me to go, right, so what do you want to do with the communication record? So not only is the letter ready to go into the record of a communication, but I've got the option to put some headline text on it. It could be something like, you know, the reason why the letter was sent, for example. So it could be, oh, following our call, that sort of thing. Here's the stuff. And this typically is internal narrative, right? So that everyone else in your business knows what this letter is about without having to actually read the letter. Standard letter, explain the benefits, yada, yada, yada. And I click all that and I go, yep, good with that, save it. Now, you don't see it on the screen now, do you? And that's because the default communications filtering over the right-hand side there, the second drop-down is set to pending. That's the way the product runs out of the box. I've changed that filtering to be complete, and watch how that list of currently 6 communications on the left will update to be 11. And so what's happening there, what you're seeing there, is there's 11 communications reflect everything that's going on in the past and everything that's coming in the future. And you'll see the paperclip, top left, reminds us, or points out to us, I should say, that this is not only just a communication entry on my behalf, there is a corresponding document that goes with it too. And I can click on the document and, oh, hey presto, here's the letter. Now, close that. And I'm going to go back to the tab menu. Documents is where I'm going to go to. And there might be other documents that you want to talk about or keep. And so perhaps, as I was sort of alluding to earlier with the drag and drop thing earlier, maybe there's an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, or something he sent back to me. And I just keep that at the record because that's important too. So I can click on my local machine, wherever that might be, pick it up, drop it in, and you can see how you can also tag that and write some narrative. Oh yeah, here is what we did and this is why we did it. And then you save it, and these are shared too inside the document of that company. Now, I spoke earlier about shared documents. I just want to come back to that very briefly because I think that's an important thing. These are resources that everyone can use. Now, not everyone can add documents to the global library. It's typically a system admin or a super user who can do that sort of thing. But it's a great way of managing standard T's and C's, product images, price list, anything like that. So I think it's a woefully underused part of the product. So I'd encourage you to think about it when you do embark or build up your CRM capability. Think about all the other things that the product does straight from the box, including managing a document library simply and easily. Let's move on. I want to talk to you about another functional part. I want to talk to you about leads. So leads are an area of the product sort of on their way to opportunities, but they may be low quality. Perhaps they're prospect information, perhaps you got them from a trade show, they're just someone's business card you picked up after a cup of coffee, you want to drop it in. So you can put them in there and have a minimum amount of information, and you can enrich it as you go. So my logged on user, I'm going to quickly look, and I'm going to have a look at about different sorts of things I could search on. So you might have entered, or you might want to capture leads along different dimensions. Where do they come from? There was an email inbound from the website. There was a referral from a customer. Perhaps there was a trade show we went to. And you can see I've got a whole bunch of leads, 218 in this particular company. And they're at different stages of enrichment or readiness or calling or anything like that. And the point about having them separate is to give you somewhere to manage them differently, away from maybe your trusted customer data, your trusted sales data. I've also got, and you remember we talked about this in the previous session, this idea of having the ability to manage a workflow or manage processes using the workflow tool is a better way of describing that. Well, I've got a workflow here in the lead entity. So let me look at British Trading and I'll show you what that looks like in action. This is the lead, British Trading. It looks like, if you look at the very top of the screen, it's come from a website offer we had. That's how we've classified it internally. Now, the lead I can change, I can enrich, I can update the data, depending on if I have the rights, obviously. I can do whatever I like with it. And you'll see then on the right-hand side, this workflow is sitting there ready to guide me as the user through the next stage. And the next stage, if you think about it, is a process design. So you and maybe your reseller partner or implementer has put this in with your guidance to say, well, here's how we do leads from start to finish. We give people the ability to reassign, to edit them, to rate them, call back, whatever. And these can be anything you like. They're just 4 simple examples on the screen. But you can do anything with these. It could be, call every month, or wait till you get a minimum set of data before you hand it to a salesperson, whatever. And you can call those steps whatever you like. It's up to you and your systems and company processes. So I'm going to click on one of those, and I click, and you see it's taking me through to a different stage where the stage is now called rated. Don't worry about the detail. It's just the next step in the process. I could maybe add some notes to say I've been talking to the customer, they're interested in something, and I've maybe put a rating on it, as you can see here with this A rating symbol, whatever makes sense to you. And then you'll see now the workflow, I'm saved it, I'm back in the next stage of the workflow, and I've got different options available to me as a user. And I can carry on just doing things with this, and all the while, the workflow at a bare minimum is updating what happened, the date, who, me, Fred Jones in this case, I should say, what stages were changed, any notes were written, irrespective of whether you use any of those communications or emails I sent you earlier. So it's a really nice feature of the product that you have the ability to track what's going on. That may not seem that important to some of you, but what it is useful for is it's an audit trail. So if someone either challenges you to say, why are you calling me? You go, well, we did all these things. It's also an audit trail to look at performance. How long are leads sitting in the system? And you can then drill in by different teams, different geographies that you operate in, different product lines, and you can start getting some good data intelligence or business intelligence around leads and lead flow and lead value and lead conversions. I can do other things with leads as well. I could create task appointments. So like I did earlier, right? I could have communications saying, here, I've sent you an email. Thanks for coming to our trade show. Poof, there you go. You could also then take it at some point, and this is where we move from leads and unqualified or light information into opportunities and company information, where you might say, do you know what? British Trading, send them a couple of emails. They seem to be keen. They seem to have answered the right things. They seem to be interested in product X. I think I'm ready to make them into a, for want of a better word, proper record, an opportunity, a company. So within Sage CRM, you can add or find, left-hand side, red box, the company to the main part of the system. It's physically the same system, obviously, but it moves it from one state to another. And so this process, and I'll whip you through it very quickly, allows you to do all the duplication, deduplication you saw me doing earlier. Have we got one of these already? Do we have the minimum information, etc.? And then you can save it and select this and match it to a company. So in other words, you create it, you attach the lead to its journey and send it on its way to being a company in your main part of the system. And you've always got the ability to look back and see, well, where did that come from? So there again, audit trail, tracking of performance, tracking of lead conversion, so that you know what's going on, where something's come from, how long it took to transfer to be a proper sales record, and so on and so forth. And you can choose to save, and the lead becomes, ta-da, guess what? An opportunity. So it moves from that unqualified, we're not sure, but now we've asked lots of questions, it looks good. It's become a real opportunity and a real company. I should point out, by the way, not everybody uses leads. Some people just choose to drop in company detail from the get-go and have a tag on it that just says, oh, we rate this company as a lead right now. And that's okay. That doesn't matter. Where we do see leads being used is where people do import or source data in volume or from in other ways, and they want to just have that separation, at least in the short term. So if that means something to you and that's something that resonates with the way you do business, then that lead capability is just the thing you need. Now, this lead is in the first stages of an opportunity, and oh, guess what? Another workflow already running in the background is ready to do something with the process for the opportunity this time. So I'm going to say, yeah, I'm happy with this. I'm going to accept it and start its journey as an opportunity. Again, I get to add tracking notes. That's important for audit things. System will automatically track things like who did this and the team it's involved in, but also I have the ability to add some freeform text, as you can see in the tracking note. Now click on that and you'll see now that has become a communication and it's following the records journey as we go. And this is the new opportunity. And you'll see on the right-hand side there, the workflow is now on, accepted, rock and roll, we're off. And now at this particular stage, which is the current state lead, confusing, I know, but that's the way I've set this one up. It's an opportunity at stage lead. I have three options. I can qualify it further, I can submit a proposal and reassign. And as I was saying on the lead area earlier, these steps and what they do and how they work are completely up to you. Call them what you like. Have 12 of them, have 2 of them, whatever. Knock yourself out. It's very much designed around the way you run your business. So that's how you process a lead, and that's how you turn it into an opportunity. I've sort of talked a bit about workflow. Let me talk a couple more things about workflow, I think, just because it's useful to remind you or educate you if you've not seen this before. This is what the workflow tool looks like in the back. So this is an admin tool. It's not something you let users loose on because it would be just carnage. But this is what an admin or a super user would look into and design. And the idea is that you, your implementer, your business partner, whoever, would sit with you and help understand the processes in your business, be they sales, be they marketing, be they customer service, and help you design and understand why things happen, when they should happen, and the things that should be done. And then that becomes a process flow, a business flow, in our language, a workflow. And this is an example, my demo data here, where the stages are going through here for an opportunity. We start at negotiating, and then if you go into negotiating, you've got other options. You can submit a proposal, far left. You can either go to sold or deal loss or cross-sell. If you go to proposal, far left, you can go into quoted. When you go into quoted, you can go into negotiating or sold or demo. So these are the branches, the steps that you're allowed to take, and each and every one of those will drive either system updates automatically or user updates, fill in some text, change a few buttons, change a few drop downs, things like that. It's a really powerful tool. And a bit like leads, some of our customers never use it, and some of our customers build their entire business around this. We see a lot of it, particularly in compliance industries, in customer service industries, where keeping track of what happened and the times it happened and the times it should happen is critical to service delivery. Back to my CRM for Susan. And a user here can get a good idea of what's in a pipeline. And we talked about this in the earlier series as well. My example here is all the opportunities in progress right now. Now, using the workflow, I never miss what I'm supposed to do, right? So even if I haven't looked at a particular opportunity and I go back in after 3 weeks and go, what was I going to call this person about? Or what was I going to do next? The workflow can help you remind you. So you click on one of those buttons and I click on qualify, and it reminds me, I've got very simple examples there. They're not very exciting, I know, but it will step a few values up for me. It'll change stage to qualified, status to in progress. I have the option to assign it to another user, and I can add some tracking notes. Now, imagine, if you will, this opportunity. I spoke to the customer. They were interested in buying some more stuff from me. I sell software and services. So imagine I've spoken to them. That's great. We're all happy. Bang. And I go and update that. And then thanks to the workflow, I've clicked save. It's moved the set on, and I've got different actions available to me on the right-hand side available. So I could click on negotiating, for example. And This time, you'll see I've got some different data. I've got the ability to fill in the certainty field, percent certainty of close, and the forecast value. Then they're different fields, aren't they, to the ones I showed you earlier? So this idea I'm hoping is sinking in. You can have people do different things at different times and make sure you do it at the right time. This is particularly useful because I have heard people say to me in the past, our business demands 15 pieces of data, whatever they are, to complete a sale. And that's fine. You have to do that. But then I've seen people have a field or a screen full of empty data, and customers, users at customers go, oh, 15 fields, are you kidding me? I'm not going to fill all that in. Using the workflow, you can actually have the 15 fields filled in 2 at a time. And it looks like it's a doddle, right? It looks simple. User buy-in is good because they go, well, this looks all straightforward. I'll just update those values and I'll be off. And that's an important thing, never to be overlooked. And again, looking at my tracking tab against this particular opportunity, you can see that this has been moving along. I've got some pretty rubbish data in as much as everything is happening quite quickly, but in real life, that would be like today, tomorrow, next week, etc. And you can see how the tracking shows what's been going on. And other people, if they desire, can look in here. Perhaps the workflow fires an internal email that says, I've just updated the opportunity, we've just converted it to negotiating, and that's all good. And John, you need to give the guy a call as well. You know, these sorts of things can happen. And that tracking helps you do all that. So we talked about opportunities. I want to show you a little bit about forecasting as well. Forecasting is something not a lot of people use, but it's very powerful. Forecasting allows a user to get a better idea of a pipeline by working with forecasting. What do I mean by that? Well, most businesses that are in the sales industry want an ability to go, what do I think I'm closing by week, by quarter, by month, whatever it is, right? And they have some sort of target, typically. CRM allows you to hold the target, that's the blank area at the top, and then roll up all the opportunities as a pipeline underneath. And the idea is that an end user can forecast, in our case, by quarter here, in year, and say, I know I've got to deliver, whatever it is, 100K, and here are all the deals that are going to support that. Not only can they do that and have the automatic values roll up, as shown in the bottom in that red box there, but I can give the user the ability to go, do you know what, that second deal, almost at the bottom there, I'm going to exclude that because I've lost that, so I can't put that in my forecast. The other two are looking good. I'm going to commit them to the forecast. And across the top, you've got commit, likely, best case in the middle of the screen. And the idea is you can then have this forecasting tool that allows the sales manager to understand what's coming down the pipe, when, what's likely, what's not. And so you can use this all automatically because all the data in there is in there about the deal, the volume, the dates, that sort of thing, the revenue, obviously, rather than hassling people for an email, a spreadsheet, and wasting everybody's time. You can just automatically look in against the forecast and see all the deals roll up automatically. And then the user can save and submit that to their boss, and their job is done. So a final thing here I want to look at in the last sort of 5-10 minutes or so is this idea of the other functional tools as support user. So Kylie Ward, my different user here, is a customer service person. I'm going to look at an existing company. It's called Eurolandia underneath the company icon top right there. I'm going to log a case for them, right? So I'm going to click on new, create a case. So the fourth item down, top right corner, new case. And I'm going to create a new case under Eurolandia. So it's pre-filled the details for me. And I fill in, again, some basic information. You'll see a few blue stars around, which means I've got some mandatory fields to capture there. I'll fill those all in. And guess what? Another workflow. So this is how the workflow tool can be deployed anywhere in the company. We see a lot of workflows inside customer service environments because people are expecting an answer within a given time. They might have a service level agreement demanding a faster service than the guy down the road. You can manage all that inside Sage CRM. You can see the tracking. You can understand where you go next with a case. You can understand all the things that might need to be documented on the way through, assign it to different people, update the information, including actually creating information on the fly. I think that's a very strong part of the product as well, this idea that you can not only solve a case and collect the data around it, but you can turn that data from a case, perhaps because you've solved this problem for the first time, into what we call a solution. And solutions, if you look up the top there, I'm looking at cases right now, but the next item along on the tab is called solutions. And solutions is where I can then collect my corporate knowledge for my business. They could come from cases. That's always a good thing. Solve a problem, let's make it available to everybody. Or they could be the FAQs. So they're pre-written, if you like, the top 20 things customers always ask us about, which may not be technical faults per se. They could be just, how do I get my password reset? Or how do I adjust for this? So they could be top features. The good thing about that is you capture the corporate knowledge in here, and you can quickly and easily jump into it. You can either create a new one, or you can either fire the solution out to someone who just rings in and says, oh, I need to reset my password, what do I do? Bang, and you just send it out the door. But the interesting way I think is quite useful is turning a case into a solution. That's always been a powerful story for me, and that's why I focused on this idea that you can take a case. I'm in a case right now, top left, access violation, accessing tab. You may have some more details around that, communication history, steps to fix, steps to diagnose, or captioning communications, and then you can turn it into a solution. So you can just quickly, from cases, create a solution. Here's all the stuff we did for it. Make it available, and guess what? Right-hand side, another workflow, because this workflow is using internal processes to validate and publish. So there might be an internal process that says a customer service user has fixed the problem we think, but it needs to go to the head of customer services to be validated as, yep, that's okay, that's what we do, that's the right way, before it gets published or made available as a solution. And so you have the option, like everything else, to edit it, approve it, reject it, move it on to the next step, etc. And you've always got the record, a bit like you do with leads and opportunities, about, well, where did this solution actually come from? And you can go back into the case and see exactly where it came from. And solutions can be created new, as I said earlier, and there's no need necessarily. You just create one on the fly. So you don't have to have a case. You can also create one automatically. So, same process, this idea about approving and logging and so on and so forth. And then you can link a solution back to a case as well. So it's like a 360-degree view in a different way. I use 360 to do other things, I know, but this idea that you can create a case and then create a solution. You can create a solution and link it to a case. You can create a solution new and then link it back to a case problem, whichever way you want to come at it. There's any which way you can come around, and you've got these entities and the workflow tool underneath to help you manage that story through. And then you can search on it like you can search on anything else in the product. So someone rings in, has a keyword or three, or a release number, or an error message, you can use that to search through the solutions database. And off you go. And you'll see there's the detail of the case. And if I click on the Solutions tab, the fact that it's linked to a particular solution. The nice thing about that too is you can also surface the information onto a public website using the web self-service tool. There are pieces you can expose all sorts of different data in a secure fashion, and just the data you choose, onto a public or partner or semi-private portal. So you can even make your solutions available online, so customers, rather than ringing you, can quickly go online and check, or raise a case online and pump that back into your standard CRM system as well. So that's a lot of talking today. That's a real flying tour of some of the basic functions across the main personas of customers, managing customers through sales, marketing, leads, I should say leads, sales, and customer service. My standard reminder to you, Sage CRM comes with your Sage 100 and Sage 300 products, as well as available to buy standalone. And the idea is, with the integration story, whether it's ours or anything else for that matter, is it gives you consistent customer data, the 360-degree view in the other phraseology, and it just brings your information and your company together, reducing the need to rekey and recheck information. So, closing message for me, one you've seen before. Your accounting software helps you plan, account, and study transactional information. But my ask of you, my reminder to you all, is what's your plan? What's your system? What's your approach to customer relationship management? And should you be considering Sage CRM in your business? So this is another of our learning series recordings. I hope it's been useful to you. I think we're up to, gosh, about 9 or 10 by now. They're all available online at that URL you see there. And if you Google Sage CRM Learning Series, I think it does appear in the first page or two. There's lots there, and they speak to different personas in their usage of CRM. They also speak, as these ones are for the next couple of weeks, speaking about the functional usage of the product. That's been part 2. Thank you for coming along. I hope you've enjoyed it. Part 3, we'll be talking more about some of the other features and offers and availability of the things in CRM. Then we'll spend more time about learning how they work and what you can do with them in your business. But for now, that's me. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.